Hello and welcome to another gear review with me, Anjay. Today I am looking at the Zoom G1 4. Rewind 20 years, I'm a student at university and I get my first multi-effects processor. It's a Zoom 3030. Back in those days there wasn't a huge amount of them out there, but the Zooms offered a good compromise between value and quality. They were cheaper but sounded pretty good. 20 years later I get the opportunity to look at the Zoom G1 4. Now, it's not been out very long. I think it sort of came out around NAMM this year. So massive thanks to Zoom UK for sending this over to me to have a look at. And it's quite an exciting little box when I consider that my old one was about this big and didn't do half of what this does. So what is in the box? In the box you get 70 built-in effects, from overdrives to compressions to weird filters to modulation to delays and time and reverb and all that kind of stuff. You get 13 amp sims and 13 matched cabs, and you also get 68 drum beats and a looper as well. So there's a lot in here, plenty of stuff going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it here and just play with some of the presets for you. Then I should move down onto the ground and show you just setting up a quick patch and have a little play with it. And then we can have a little chat about it. So yeah, let's make some noise. So my setup today is I'm going straight from the Telecaster into the Zoom, straight into the computer. So there's no processing going on anywhere else. It's all just the Zoom that you can hear. First preset is MS High Gain. They're always a high gain preset and they're usually saturated in reverb on these things. What else we got? BGN Gent. Now, if I want to see what's on here, I press edit and I can see that there is a noise reduction, gold drive, there's an XTSYBL head, which I probably should know what that is, and a BGN 4x12 cab. Now I can change anything on here if I want to, so maybe I want to have a bit more Marshall-y sound. I select the amp and I select the Marshall 800. Where is it? There the cab, through the fenders, MS 800. And maybe a bit more gain on the overdrive at the beginning. Whack the treble up. So it's really easy to move things around on this. And it also remembers everything you do. One of my favourites here, the grunge muff. Now actually I've made some changes to this while I've been playing around, so it's not quite right. But it's called grunge muff, so I love it. Anything else in here? Some Satriani style ones, some nice clean ones. I love the octaver in this. Auto wah is also quite fun. There's a Harmonizer, by default set to C. I've actually changed it to A, so... I think it's set to 3rd harmonic. Where are we? Yes, so I can change what the harmony is. And the key as well. What else? Something else. Oh, there's a great acoustic setting on this as well. Which at a push in a live setting would be quite usable. And then you get some weird effects like reversing and padding and swelling. And that's called bomb. It just makes bomb sounds. Clean sounds, the match clean. Bit of Jimmy. Sadly, it doesn't make me sound like Eddie. Rhapsody, I like this one. And then we're into our own. Now, one of the things that I didn't like about multi-effects units when I was a kid was, as soon as I started playing on tube amps, I realised they didn't respond very well, because digital modelling at that time didn't handle the dynamics very well. So if you turn the volume down on your guitar, it didn't really do much to the tone. It kind of tried to keep up with you almost. It's like some kind of compression built in. This reacts really well. So I've got a blues patch I've set up here, which is actually kind of a Fender twin sound. Now, one of the things I didn't like when I was a kid with digital modelling was that it didn't really emulate a tube very well. So as you reduce the dynamic, you're not hitting as hard or turning down the volume, it didn't do much to the distortion sounds and the overdrives. What this does really well is responds like a real amp. So I've got a Fender style amp set up on this with the tube screamer going into it. If I turn down the volume on the guitar, the gain drops off really nicely, making it incredibly usable in a live situation. And something else that makes it very usable in a live situation, as I'll show you when I get on the floor with it, is that you can select one of the effects in the chain to turn on and off with one of the pedals. So you can throw a boost in without having to swap patches and that kind of thing, which is great. The other thing that I sort of mentioned in the beginning, this has a drum looper. So I can select lots and lots of different loops. Metalcore. This one's called Emo. There's all sorts. I can also really easily change the BPM. Get it back down to 120, and I move it on to the blues. I'll show you one of the other features. The other feature is it has a looper built in, like I said. So I put it on the floor, and I'm going to record a little loop using the drums. If I start the drums, hit the looper, and so on and so forth. So you've got a nice little looper in there. Doesn't record for very long, but it's long enough to get a few little bits down and play around with it and kind of have a practice and a jam with yourself, which I think is really important for a piece of kit which probably is really aimed at bedroom users, but could be used in a good jam situation. Got a couple of guitarist mates around, put the drum machine on there and play along, fire up a loop or two, and you got yourself quite a nice thick sound to practice and play with. So yeah, great sort of additions to that. Now then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get on the floor and just show you going through some of the patches and making my own patch to show you how easy it is. Then I'll talk about a couple more things with it and just let you know my thoughts and see how you like it. Okay, so this is the main screen. We're on the high gain setting at the moment. If I hit edit, you can see we've got gold drive, Marshall 800, Marshall 4x12, noise reduction and plate. So I can, if I want to, turn some of these off. I can tweak them. So very simple. So let's now move on to a different setting maybe. Let's look at Randy Train. If I wanted to add an effect to this, I hit edit. If I want to get rid of, say, the EQ and maybe change it for an auto one. It's very simple. Let's set up our own one. So if we go into 5, oops, Going to 5. And let's make sort of maybe a heavy one. So let's start with the amp. So what cab do I want? Let's have a rectifier cab, 4x4, 4x12. I'm going to put a bit of reverb in there, and then I'm going to put an actual amp in. So get down to the amps. So let's have a rectifier in there. More gain. And let's have a little less reverb. Maybe a bit of noise reduction in there because, well, and maybe just for fun, let's have some kind of heavy distortion in there as well. Now, obviously that's daft, but it's a good example as to how fast it is to set things up on this. And as one of the other things I was saying was that you can choose to turn things on or off. So if I press the right button, I can highlight something to turn on and off with this button. So or maybe I want to turn off the actual rectifier. Making it much more usable for kind of actually playing live, the fact you can change settings on the fly. So as you can see, it's pretty simple to set up. Some of the other things that this does, which I really like, is it lets you, on these controls when you're playing, they actually act as low, mid, high and volume as an EQ for live playing. So as you're doing stuff, you can tweak based on your needs at the time without having to go into the patches themselves. It's like a master EQ. Another thing that you can do is if you're listening through headphones, the cab simulator has a mic option to make it sound a bit more like it's a mic'd up cab, which I've not been using for recording direct. So another thing on this is as I showed you before, you have 5 different areas to put effects in, and you can change them any way you want to. Or what I didn't show you was you can, once you've got it set up, you can change the order of things quite easily as well without having to delete stuff. Worth remembering that if you're using cab sim and amp sim, they take up 2 patch spaces, still leaving you with 3, or 2 effect spaces, still leaves you with 3 to play with. But if you're going into an amp, you won't need that. So that's purely for kind of recording and headphone usage, really, or unless you're desperate to try and change the sound of your amp a little bit. But I have heard people sort of muttering about the fact that's a bit annoying. Shouldn't really affect you in normal usage. So yeah, I mean, it's quite versatile in that respect, and quite usable. The fact you can switch stuff on and off, or an effect on and off with the stomp box, makes it usable live. It's a really good recording tool because the models on it are actually very good. So you can set up some good patches and kind of record with it at home. I would quite happily use this on my board for certain effects. The acoustic simulator, some of the patches, you know, kind of tweak those and use those live would be fantastic. So yeah, all in all, for £70 this version, and I think £90 for the expression pedal on it. And the expression pedal one lets you kind of use it like a wah pedal, a volume pedal, changing the phaser effects. I think it represents a really good kind of evolution in digital budget effect, multi effects, and one that, yeah, I'd quite happily play live or mess around with in the home studio, back bedroom. Yeah, well worth it. And again, thanks very much to Zoom UK for sending it over to me. If you've got any questions, comments, horror stories, love stories for the Zoom, let me know in the comments. Subscribe, click the bell, say hello, buy stuff, use my affiliate links, support the site, everything you can do, all very greatly received. And until next time, I shall see you soon.